Today's topic revolves around the U.S. and the tariff war launched by Trump. What do you think Trump's long-term and short-term goals are in waging this trade war?
Thank you. I have always said that Trump sees many problems in the United States, especially that the U.S. national strength no longer allows it to expand everywhere. He sees that, so he always says that the U.S. is a failing country. He wins votes with this image of saving the country. His slogan is, "Make America Great Again." But in fact, when he comes into office, his natural instinct is to make Trump great again.
This is where his real self-interest lies.
No matter what he says, this is his priority. So I think we can see that both purposes may exist. The first is to gain benefits for himself and his family. At the same time, if possible, he also hopes that the US can develop better according to his ideas.
I think it's very important that we understand that Trump didn't make the United States we have today. The United States of America, its long history of particularly the exceptionalist behavior of the last 30, 40 years, made people like Trump. So you need to understand he's a product of a society that is basically gone off the rails in many ways because it's been pampered to, the world just bowed to it. So 500 years of essentially European dominance, which created the USA, which was a settler community, like Canada, like Australia, created societies in which, although in the last 50 years they provided a mask of liberalism, that mask is off. And in that way, Trump did us all a favor. So I think his end goal, in a way, is deep-rooted in his nationalism and racial supremacist view that we, America, white America, rule the world, and we should always be number one. And now here come these Chinese people. My God. And I think his vice president called Chinese people peasants. I think you should take it all as a compliment. We're all the sons and daughters of peasants. We work hard. So I think this shows you the underlying thing. So I think his basic goal is rooted in this supremacist attitude that we, Western civilization, as exemplified through the supremacy of the United States, we rule the world, and I'm here to remind the world of that. And in that sense, his nationalism requires him to bring the jobs back, which is fine if you know, as a sentiment, I want our people to work and all of that. But then you have to understand how to go about doing that. But you can't have jobs, bring back the jobs, then say you want to sort out the deficit, and at the same time you want to deal with trade imbalances. You can't have all three at the same time. It's a complex set, and there are institutions for negotiating that.
Let me add something, because what he said is quite important. That is, there is a hidden racist factor of white supremacy. Because in fact, one of the important reasons why Trump's forces were able to come to power was the famous book Who Are We by Samuel Huntington. Is the United States fundamentally a white Christian nation? At that time, Huntington saw that the changing trend, if it continues like this, he was afraid that the US will be a very complex and multicultural country, no longer ruled by the white people. The white in the US, including the rednecks represented by Trump, cannot accept it. So for them, it's a matter of life and death. Looking at Trump again, he is actually very arrogant. To other countries and other nations, especially small countries in Africa. As for China, he is a little more polite when we launched countermeasures this time, but he was very arrogant in the beginning. The key behind such arrogance is to maintain what I call its financial discourse. That is, all of you want to buy US Treasury bonds, so we are not afraid of anything. We can borrow new debt to repay old debt. But now, according to our understanding, $6 trillion of national debt is due this year, which must be repaid. So far, the US has at least maintained the ability to pay the interest in time.
And June is a very important time.
But this $6 trillion, you see why we say it is a crisis of US debt. When everyone is distrustful and selling off US debt in large quantities, it is a big problem that this $6 trillion may not be collected.
I say that Trump is actually a historical figure because he is really tearing off the veil of the US from the inside, just like Mr. Nair said just now, tearing off the veil and taking away the mask. It turns out that there is a set of soft power packaging. Although we have been saying that it is nothing but a set of packaging, many people may not understand it, but now he has pierced it from the inside.
This is so interesting. I wanted to say arrogance is okay if you know your stuff. If you're a physicist and it's okay to be arrogant. But if you don't know, it's called essentially naivety, and even you could be blunt to say stupidity. So I think one of the things we have to understand is the American system has evolved into one that is essentially now incompetent. And because of this fetish that somehow because it's a democracy, it will correct itself. But now it's full of very, very immature, naive people, but also then dangerously driven by nationalism, as I call supremacist attitudes. So this is extremely dangerous. How it'll correct itself, it's difficult to know. Let's be very clear, too, that although Trump in this sense has been extremist, the Democrats have not been much better in terms of, the deficits, the wars, etc. It is part of the psyche. 85 million or something like that Americans voted for this man. Yeah. We all talk about American soft power. I think this is overstated. What is it? Coca-Cola? McDonald's? And that's what was told, that, people in the world want to be Americans, why Levi jeans and Coca-Cola and McDonald's? Well, that's crass stuff. What's the really good stuff? And that should have been statesmanship. That should be seeing we have power. How do we engage with the rest of the world? That's true soft power. And I think it'll sort of lose it, not just with Donald Trump.
Recently, I have been paying attention to media reports, including asking friends living in the US. They said that, of course, some people are very opposed to Trump's tariff war, and they are also protesting, but a considerable number of ordinary people who form Trump's base, they basically agree with Trump's tariff war, or at least they are not so sensitive. Professor Zhang, please analyze why this is the case.
This is probably because the chain effect has not reached them yet, especially at the grassroots level, because American people don't care much about politics. But from what we can see now, Trump's polls are close to his lowest point in history, proving that the tariff war is not good for him. Of course, the polls may be controlled by the mainstream media, so it is worth questioning whether they are reliable. However, recently, not only Trump himself, but also his cabinet has been creating jokes almost every day. Today, I saw something really embarrassing. Linda McMahon, the US Secretary of Education. The abbreviation of artificial intelligence is AI, right? She mistook the letter I for number 1 and read A1 for no less than 10 times, and then she became the joke of the day. There are such stories almost every day. What matters the most for the makeshift team is political loyalty to their boss, praising Trump, hailing Trump all day long, but their competence is really terrible.
You just said that some people have not felt the tariff pressure, and some from Trump's voter base may even firmly support his policies. In addition, he is surrounded by such a cabinet. So what will Trump be up to after the tariff war?
They themselves may have not thought about it. There is a classic argument in military science, a famous quote from Clausewitz: "No one starts a war without first being clear in his mind about how it will come to an end." Trump has no such idea. He did not think about it thoroughly. About his red line, he made decision impulsively.
There must be no sketch or roadmap in his mind.
No, one point that I have been talking about is only China can help the United States, but should China help, or to what extent should China help? Sorry, these are matters of negotiation. You have to substantively correct your mistakes, including withdrawing all tariff bluff first, right? We Chinese people won't accept his approach to negotiations, and it's bullying. Furthermore, he is a big mouth. Vietnam just talked to him on the phone. He revealed everything. Look how embarrassed Vietnam is, right? He may want to make a case of it. He doesn't know much about diplomacy, which has a dimension of secrecy.
I think Trump wants to make an advertisement. He wants to showcase Vietnam as a sample country who had reached deals with me, and I expect more to follow suit, so come on, call us.
You may deal with small countries like this, but none of the major countries would buy into this. Sorry, you need to sign a written guarantee, otherwise we won't even talk to you at all.
I've been a consultant for most of my life. I have been a consultant to some of the world's largest companies. I've been a consultant to governments. And we always, when we are consultants and we talk to our clients, everything is strategy. Where is this going to end? You want to get here, but which pathway? And what are the obstacles and what might fail? So you have to think very deeply. And, to their credit, America has a history of creating some of the best consulting firms in the world, which dominated, which now is a problem in my view. But a lot of strategy, all of that's gone. Now the question is, how do we all react? And this is why I say, I think we should all say, China, thank you for standing up. It will cause pain, but we cannot stand up to this sort of arrogance where he stood up and said, everyone's begging me and calling me.
I think your conclusion is tenable, and I think most Americans probably agree with you now. He is first considering the interests of his own clan, his family. As they say, it's like turning the US stock market into a family casino.
He has the final say on whether to go long or short. He holds the biggest influence on the market.
He could actually send a tweet 15 minutes before an announcement goes official, saying that it is a great time to buy. This is insider trading. But you see that so many people in the US are saying he should be investigated. But can it be done? A few days ago, we discussed this issue with a German scholar named Thomas Pogge, a philosopher at Yale University. The Chinese are particularly influenced by Confucian ethics, which emphasizes self-cultivation. We follow the logic of step-by-step progression, from self-cultivation to family management, then to state governance, and finally to bringing peace to all under heaven. Chinese leaders are influenced by the Confucian culture of self-cultivation.
To become a mature person,
Then you look at Trump. He is obviously not well cultivated. He became the president this way.
I'll just say one more point. 3 years ago, I was in Europe doing a talk. I told Europeans that one of the things you got to do is decouple yourself from the United States. It will actually do the Americans a good service because, always, if there's a war somewhere, oh, we'll follow you. If you don't like these people, we'll follow you. You don't like China? We don't like China too. We'll sanction them. So I told the Europeans, when are you becoming a sovereign group of states? And my European friends were aghast and said to me, no, we are close, transatlantic. I said, what transatlantic alliance is that? Is that a white alliance of supremacists? So, but now my European friends are saying, my God, you're so right. I said, I'm enjoying it. Now you are getting a taste of the medicine that the rest of the world felt from America's sort of, I don't like your face, I'll punish you. I don't like your religion, I'll punish you. I don't like your government system, so we'll punish you. And now the Europeans are facing that too.